What happens when love, deceit, and betrayal collide within the walls of a seemingly perfect marriage? Beneath the surface of a devoted Muslim wife and doting husband lies a web of lies so intricate it leads to a shocking crime that shakes an entire community. This is not just a story of infidelity, it's a tale of secret affairs, dangerous obsessions, and a moment of deadly rage that turned a home into the scene of an unthinkable tragedy. Stay with us as we uncover the chilling events that transformed love into a weapon, leaving no one unscathed. On a brisk autumn morning in Toronto, the city bustled with life, oblivious to the storm brewing behind the walls of a modest suburban home. Abida Grant, a 35-year-old wife and mother of two, seemed like the epitome of stability. She was a picture-perfect homemaker, graceful, devout, religious, and devoted to her husband, Hamza, and their two children. But beneath the facade of a happy home lay secrets that would ultimately tear apart their lives in a tragic and violent manner. Hamza Grant was a hard-working financial analyst who often spent long hours at the office. His demanding job left Abida feeling increasingly isolated in their quiet neighborhood. The monotony of her daily life, combined with her yearning for excitement, slowly became unbearable. The cracks in their seemingly perfect marriage grew, but Hamza remained oblivious, focused on his career and providing for his family. Abida found solace in the digital world, joining online forums and social media groups that promised to connect like-minded individuals. What started as harmless chats soon evolved into deeper conversations with strangers. Among them, 3 young men stood out. Dylan, a charismatic 22-year-old college student, Marcus, a charming but troubled bartender in his mid-20s, and Jared, a quiet and enigmatic artist and fitness trainer. Each of them offered Abida something she craved: attention, validation, and a sense of excitement that had long been missing in her life. Initially, the relationships were innocent. Dylan's humor and energy brought a spark to her otherwise dull days. Marcus's empathetic nature gave her someone to confide in, while Jared's deep conversations about art and life awakened a sense of passion she thought she had lost. However, as the months passed, the boundaries between friendship and something more began to blur. By March 2023, Abida had started meeting each of them in secret. She carefully planned her encounters, disguising them as errands or social outings. The clandestine nature of these meetings only heightened her thrill, but the thrill soon turned into a dangerous game of lies and deceit. Unknown to Abida, the 3 men became increasingly possessive. Each believed he was her sole lover, unaware of the other's existence. Abida, caught in the web of her own making, struggled to maintain the delicate balance. She reassured each man of their importance, while continuing her double, or rather triple, life. The turning point came on July 15, 2023, when Dylan, curious about Abida's elusive nature, stumbled upon her social media profile. To his shock, he found photos of her family, a smiling Hamza and 2 young children who seemed worlds apart from the version of Abida he knew. Dylan was devastated and furious, feeling betrayed by the woman he had grown attached to. Fueled by anger, Dylan confronted Abida, demanding an explanation. Abida, panicked, tried to calm him down with promises and half-truths, but Dylan's discovery set off a chain reaction. Feeling insecure and jealous, he began digging deeper, eventually uncovering her interactions with Marcus and Jared. Unable to contain his rage, Dylan reached out to Marcus, revealing the tangled web Abida had woven. Marcus was equally furious. The woman he thought he shared a genuine connection with had been lying to him all along. He, in turn, contacted Jared, pulling him into the chaos. The 3 men, once strangers, were now bound by betrayal and anger. By August, the tension had reached its boiling point. The men's interactions with Abida grew increasingly volatile. They accused her of playing with their emotions, threatening to expose her secret life to her husband. Abida, desperate to keep her family intact, begged them to stay silent. She promised to end the relationships, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. What Abida didn't realize was that her lies had set in motion a series of events that would lead to a tragic and violent climax. The 3 men, feeling scorned and manipulated, began plotting their revenge. It was on the evening of August 20, 2023, that the storm finally erupted. Hamza, who had noticed his wife's erratic behavior in recent months, decided to return home early from work. He arrived to find their house dark, the air thick with an unsettling silence. Upstairs, Abida was in the midst of yet another heated argument with Dylan, who had shown up unannounced. Hamza, confused and alarmed, made his way to the bedroom. What he witnessed was something he would never forget. If you're enjoying this story, don't miss out on the next shocking true crime documentary we're about to reveal. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a twist like this again. Abida, standing between Dylan and Marcus, both of whom looked ready to erupt. Before Hamza could process the scene, Jared appeared, completing the triangle of chaos. The sight of three strangers in his bedroom sent Hamza's mind racing. His home, his sanctuary, was suddenly filled with anger, chaos, and confusion. Abida, caught like a deer in headlights, stood frozen as Hamza demanded an explanation. Dylan, emboldened by his rage and betrayal, stepped forward, his voice laced with venom, as he revealed the truth about Abida's double life. Hamza, still trying to process what he was hearing, felt his world crumble. The wife he had loved and trusted had been leading a life he couldn't even fathom. Abida tried to interject, her voice shaking as she begged for forgiveness, but the tension in the room was suffocating. Jared, who had been silent up until this point, finally spoke, his words cold and calculated. He accused Abida of manipulation, of stringing all of them along while maintaining the illusion of a perfect family. The room felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. Hamza's emotions fluctuated between heartbreak, disbelief, and anger. He turned to Abida, his voice breaking as he asked her if it was all true. Her silence was the confirmation he dreaded. As Hamza's heartbreak turned into anger, the three young men began to turn on each other. Marcus accused Dylan of being the reason for the confrontation, claiming he had no right to bring them all together without a plan. Dylan, in turn, argued that Marcus and Jared were just as much at fault for falling for Abida's lies. The accusations flew, each man trying to absolve himself of guilt while directing blame at the others. Abida, overwhelmed and terrified, tried to regain control of the situation. She pleaded with the men to leave before things got out of hand, but her words fell on deaf ears. Hamza, unable to contain his anger, lunged at Dylan, and the room descended into chaos. The fight was brutal and unrelenting. Dylan, being the youngest and fittest of the three, quickly overpowered Hamza, shoving him against the wall. Jared, seeing Hamza's vulnerability, joined in, his punches landing with calculated precision. Marcus hesitated for a moment before jumping into the fray, his own frustrations boiling. Abida screamed for them to stop, but her cries were drowned out by the sound of fists connecting with flesh. Hamza, despite being outnumbered, fought back with a desperation born out of sheer survival. He managed to land a solid punch on Dylan, momentarily stunning him, but the odds were stacked against him. In the midst of the chaos, Abida grabbed a lamp from the bedside table, her hands trembling as she brandished it like a weapon. She shouted for them to stop, her voice breaking as tears streamed down her face. The sight of Abida in distress momentarily paused the fight, giving Hamza a chance to catch his breath. But the reprieve was short-lived. Dylan, fueled by anger, lunged at Abida, accusing her of being the root of all their problems. Marcus and Jared, equally enraged, followed suit, their voices echoing through the room as they hurled insults and threats. Abida, cornered and terrified, swung the lamp, the heavy base connecting with Dylan's head. He stumbled backward, clutching his head as blood trickled down his temple. The room fell silent for a moment, the gravity of what had just happened sinking in. Dylan staggered before collapsing to the floor, unconscious but still breathing. Jared and Marcus, shocked by Abida's sudden act of violence, exchanged uneasy glances. Hamza, still gasping for air, used the distraction to grab his phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. As the operator's voice came through the line, Hamza quickly explained the situation, his words rushed and frantic. Abida, realizing what was happening, begged him to hang up, her desperation reaching a fever pitch. Marcus, panicked and unsure of what to do, tried to grab the phone, but Hamza held firm, determined to get help. Jared, sensing that the situation was spiraling out of control, urged Marcus to leave. The two of them dragged Dylan's unconscious body toward the door, their movements frantic as they tried to make their escape. Hamza, still on the phone with the operator, described their appearances and the direction they were heading. The sound of sirens in the distance brought a mix of relief and dread to Abida. She knew that her secrets were about to be laid bare, that her carefully constructed life was about to unravel completely. She turned to Hamza, her eyes pleading for forgiveness, but the look on his face told her that forgiveness was out of the question. The police arrived within minutes, their presence adding an air of finality to the chaotic scene. Officers entered the house, their voices firm as they instructed everyone to stay where they were. Marcus and Jared, who had managed to carry Dylan to their car, were intercepted before they could drive away. Dylan, still unconscious, was taken to the hospital under police supervision. Inside the house, Abida and Hamza were separated for questioning. Abida, her hands shaking and her voice barely above a whisper, recounted her version of events, omitting the details of her affairs. Hamza, still reeling from the betrayal and the fight, told the officers everything he knew, his words tinged with bitterness and heartbreak. As the night wore on, the pieces of the puzzle began to come together. The police uncovered Abida's digital conversation with Dylan, Marcus, and Jared, their conversations painting a damning picture of infidelity and deceit. Hamza, despite his anger, refused to press charges against Abida, but the three young men faced a slew of charges, including assault and trespassing. By the time dawn broke, the house was eerily quiet. Abida sat alone in the living room, her mind racing as she replayed the events of the night. Hamza, unable to stay in the same house as his wife, had left with the children, leaving Abida to face the consequences of her actions. As dawn broke over the quiet suburban neighborhood, the house that once stood as a symbol of love and stability now bore the scars of a nightmarish revelation. Shattered glass glistened on the floor, overturned furniture spoke of violent chaos, and the air was thick with the aftermath of betrayal. Abida sat alone in the dimly lit living room, the weight of her actions pressing heavily on her chest. Hamza had left with the children, their absence palpable. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional hum of a passing car. In the hours that followed the police intervention, Abida's life unraveled in ways she would have never anticipated. The evidence gathered by the authorities painted a damning picture of her infidelity. Messages exchanged with Dylan, Marcus, and Jared revealed a web of deceit in these months. The explicit nature of the correspondence left little room for denial, exposing not just the affair but the level of emotional and physical intimacy Abida had shared with each of the young men. The police interrogations had been grueling. Abida had tried to defend herself, claiming that the relationships had spiraled out of control, but her words rang hollow. Her once carefully curated image as a devoted wife and mother crumbled under the weight of scrutiny. Hamza's statement to the police, raw and emotional, described a man blindsided by betrayal. He had recounted the harrowing details of the night, emphasizing the physical violence and the danger his family had been placed in. Dylan, who had regained consciousness in the hospital, offered his version of events. He admitted to being in a relationship with Abida, but claimed he was unaware of her involvement with Marcus and Jared. His anger toward Abida was evident as he described feeling manipulated and betrayed. Marcus and Jared echoed similar sentiments during their interviews, each trying to distance themselves from the chaos of the night. The legal proceedings moved swiftly. Charges of assault and trespassing were filed against Dylan, Marcus, and Jared, while Abida faced no legal repercussions for her actions. However, the damage to her personal life was irreversible. Hamza filed for divorce almost immediately, citing irreconcilable differences and citing the danger Abida had exposed their family to. The children, confused and hurt, were shielded from most of the details. But the tension between their parents was impossible to ignore. The community's reaction to the scandal was swift and unforgiving. News of the incident spread like wildfire, fueled by gossip and speculation. Abida, once a respected member of the neighborhood, found herself ostracized. Friends and acquaintances distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with the scandal. Hamza, on the other hand, was met with an outpouring of support. Neighbors rallied around him, offering assistance with the children and words of encouragement. Abida's life became a solitary existence. She spent her days replaying the events that led to her downfall, unable to escape the weight of her guilt and regret. Her relationship with Hamza, already strained, became non-existent. The love they once shared had been replaced by resentment and pain. For Hamza, the betrayal cut deeper than he could have imagined. The woman he had built a life with, the mother of his children, had destroyed their family with her actions. Despite the chaos surrounding him, Hamza remained focused on his children. He vowed to provide them with a stable and loving home, free from the toxicity that had consumed their lives. He sought therapy to process his emotions and ensure that he could be the best father possible. The children, though young, showed remarkable resilience. They adapted to their new reality, finding comfort in their father's unwavering presence. As for Abida, she became a recluse. The once vibrant and outgoing woman faded into obscurity, consumed by shame and self-loathing. She avoided public places, fearing the judgmental stares and whispers of her neighbors. The few friends who remained in her life urged her to seek help, but Abida resisted, unable to confront the magnitude of her mistakes. Months turned into years, and the events of that fateful night became a cautionary tale within the community. The scandal was a reminder of the devastating consequences of betrayal and the fragility of trust. For Hamza, the experience shaped him in profound ways. He became more cautious, more guarded, but also more determined to protect his family. The legal proceedings against Dylan, Marcus, and Jared concluded with plea deals. Each of the men received probation and mandatory counseling, a lenient sentence that left Hamza feeling frustrated but relieved that the ordeal was over. The three men, once united by their shared connection to Abida, went their separate ways, each grappling with their own regrets and unresolved emotions. Abida's life, however, remained in limbo. She struggled to rebuild her sense of self, haunted by the choices that had led to her isolation. Therapy became a lifeline, providing her with the tools to confront her past and begin the slow process of healing. She took responsibility for her actions, acknowledging the pain she had caused and vowing to become a better person. Despite her efforts, reconciliation with Hamza was out of the question. He had moved on, finding solace in a new relationship that brought stability and happiness back into his life. The children, though hesitant at first, grew to accept their father's new partner, finding in her a source of warmth and care. Abida, though heartbroken, respected Hamza's decision. She understood that the damage she had done was irreparable, and she focused her energy on rebuilding her relationship with her children. It was a slow and painful journey, but over time the bonds began to mend. The children, though wary, recognized their mother's genuine remorse and began to forgive her. The story of Abida, Hamza, and the three young men became a chapter in the lives of those involved, a painful reminder of the consequences of betrayal and the resilience of the human spirit. For Hamza, the experience taught him the importance of trust and the strength it takes to rebuild a broken life. For Abida, it was a lesson in accountability and the power of redemption. In the end, the scars left by that fateful night served as a testament to the complexity of human relationships and the capacity for growth and forgiveness. Life moved forward, shaped by the lessons of the past, but driven by the hope of a brighter future. As the years passed, the scandal faded from the forefront of the community's collective memory, but for those directly involved, its impact was inescapable. Abida's life remained a quiet existence. She had relocated to a smaller town, away from the whispers and judgmental glances of her former neighbors. Here she focused on starting anew, though the shadow of her past was an ever-present reminder of the cost of her choices. Her days were consumed by introspection and rebuilding. Therapy, once a daunting and uncomfortable process, became a source of clarity and strength. Each session helped her confront the layers of guilt, shame, and regret that weighed heavily on her. She began volunteering at a local community center, using her experiences to mentor others who were grappling with their own personal challenges. Slowly but surely, Abida carved out a life defined not by her mistakes, but by her efforts to overcome them. Meanwhile, Hamza's life flourished in ways he could not have imagined during those dark days. His children were thriving, their resilience a testament to his unwavering commitment to their well-being. His new partner, Layla, brought joy and balance to his world. Together, they created a home filled with love, understanding, and a shared determination to prioritize the children's happiness. Layla, a social worker with a compassionate heart, became a source of stability not just for Hamza, but for his children as well. She approached their blended family with patience, respecting the emotional complexities of their situation. Over time, her presence helped heal wounds that had once seemed impossible to mend. Hamza found solace in Layla's unwavering support, and their relationship blossomed into a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. Layla is spoken of in the loss of the younger sister, and the relationship blossomed into a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. For Abida, the most challenging part of her journey was rebuilding her relationship with her children. Though they were now teenagers, their memories of the scandal still lingered. Visits were initially tense, marked by awkward silences and guarded interactions. But Abida's genuine efforts to make amends began to break down the walls between them. She listened more than she spoke, giving her children the space to express their anger, confusion, and hurt. One pivotal moment came during a family counseling session. Hamza had agreed to allow the children to participate, recognizing the importance of addressing their emotions in a safe and constructive environment. The session was emotionally charged, with tears shed and painful truths laid bare. But it was also a turning point, paving the way for a gradual rebuilding of trust. Abida's daughter, Iman, had been the most resistant to reconciliation. As the eldest, she remembered the betrayal more vividly than her younger brother, Aryan. But over time, Iman began to see her mother's remorse as genuine. It was during a quiet conversation one evening that Iman finally opened up, sharing her fears and frustrations. Abida listened intently, her heart breaking with each word, but also feeling a glimmer of hope. That conversation marked the beginning of a fragile but growing bond between mother and daughter. Aryan, though less vocal about his emotions, found his own way to reconnect with Abida. They shared a love of art, and Abida began taking him to local galleries during their visits. These outings became a safe space for them to rebuild their relationship, one brushstroke at a time. As Abida worked to mend her family ties, she also took steps to address the lingering fallout of her actions. She reached out to Dylan, Marcus, and Jared, offering apologies for the chaos and pain she had caused. Each interaction was fraught with tension, but Abida was determined to take accountability. Dylan, now in his late 20s, had moved on from the scandal and was pursuing a career in graphic design. His anger toward Abida had softened over the years, replaced by a sense of closure. Marcus had returned to school and was studying criminal justice, inspired by his own brush with the legal system. Jared, once the most volatile of the trio, had turned his life around and was now working as a youth counselor, using his experiences to guide others away from similar mistakes. Though their lives had diverged, the three men shared a bond forged in adversity. They accepted Abida's apologies, each in their own way, and found peace in moving forward. Back in Hamza's world, life continued to improve. He and Layla married in a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by close friends and family. The children played important roles in the celebration, their smiles a testament to how far they had come as a family. For Hamza, the wedding was not just a celebration of love, but a declaration of a new beginning, a life untainted by the shadows of the past. As the years turned into decades, the events that had once defined their lives became distant memories. Hamza and Layla enjoyed a happy and fulfilling life, watching their children grow into kind and accomplished adults. Iman pursued a career in journalism, her experiences shaping her into a compassionate and insightful storyteller. Aryan followed his passion for art, becoming a renowned painter whose work was celebrated for its emotional depth. Abida, though never fully escaping the consequences of her actions, found her own version of redemption. She remained active in her community, mentoring young women and sharing her story as a cautionary tale. Her relationship with her children, though not without its challenges, became a source of strength and purpose. Looking back, the story of Abida, Hamza, and the three young men was one of tragedy, betrayal, and ultimately resilience. It was a reminder of the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of dishonesty. But it was also a testament to the human capacity for growth, forgiveness, and the pursuit of redemption. This true crime case is just one of many jaw-dropping stories we'll be uncovering, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button now before it's too late.